it's me, Shae Pepper, the traveling teach. In today's episode, we meet Aiden. Aiden is going to share stories about his love of photography, his adventurous eating, and find out what happened to Sir Ovenmittius later on. Let's hear what he has to say. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I have with me today Aiden. Hey, Aiden.
Hello, my
Hey.
name is Aiden. I'm 13 and I'm in America.
Awesome. It's so nice to have you here. So, Aiden, tell me, why do you like to travel?
I like to travel because it gives me like a view of how other people live their lives. No, no, it lets me see how other people live compared to the way I live. The way they live might be very much different. And it lets me experience how other people live.
Oh, very cool. So, what's your favorite way to travel? Is it boats, RV, train, anything else?
I like to travel in a camper van, or an RV, because it gives us a nice place to end the day. When we get back to when we're done exploring, we can come back and just crash, kind of.
Nice. So, you like to have a place where you can kind of call home while you travel.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So, you've traveled a fair bit, I believe, in your RV. How many states, countries, and other places have you been to already?
I don't know the exact number, but we visited most of America. And we did the only places that we really haven't been is Oklahoma and Alaska, which Alaska we're thinking about going soon.
Ooh, I have Alaska on my list as well. I can't wait to get there. And we actually really liked Oklahoma. So I highly recommend making a trip there. In fact, that's where I saw my first live bison, actually. I know that you are a fan of bison, and that's where I saw them
Yeah.
first.
Um, I've got yeah, so we've been to all the states like around Oklahoma, but we haven't been into Oklahoma.
Okay. So have you been to any countries besides the United States?
Yes, we did France, England, and then we went on a cruise ship tour that went through a couple other countries too.
Ooh, very nice. So you've had an opportunity to experience plane travel as well as RV and cruising.
And trains, yeah. We did a couple of trains. We did the bullet in Europe.
How was that? Was it exciting?
It's very fast.
Does it feel like really, really fast?
Yes, it is. Well, okay. So like when you're going on, it doesn't entirely feel like insanely fast, but it like when you look out the window, you can see just how fast it's going.
Ooh. So why do you think it's important for tweens and teens to travel away from their home?
Mainly, like I said about like why I like to travel, it's because you can see how other people live, and I think it's really important to see how other people live, um, just to see like how other people live and how other people traditions and stuff and what they do.
Cool. So Aiden, what is your biggest travel dream? Where do you most want to go and see?
I have two actually. The first one is to go to Yellowstone in the winter. I really like bison, and they have a lot of bison there. And I want to see the bison in the snow because I've seen some amazing pictures online. And I haven't been able to go in the winter yet. We're hoping soon this year though.
That sounds awesome. I know how much you enjoy the wildlife photography and things like that. So I'm sure that getting somewhere like that would be amazing. Where's the second like big trip dream that you have?
The second one is to go to Banff in Canada, to see Marine Lake.
Oh, have you not been to Banff then?
No, so there I've been to yeah, I haven't been to Canada yet. So that's hopefully we'll be able to go soon.
What are you most excited about with Banff?
Well, mainly I've seen some amazing pictures of Banff online, and I really just want to go see like if that's what it actually looks like in real life.
Awesome. So, as you're starting to kind of prep and plan to go to all these amazing places, how much input do you like to have, or do you have, when your family is planning a trip?
I don't really like to put in a lot of input. I kind of like to see what like the rest of my family wants to do. And then if I have like something that like if we're going like right by some place that I really want to visit, like Yellowstone, or there's also Custer State Park in South Dakota, which I really love, because they have like tons of bison. Um, and but like if we're going somewhere there by that way, I'll see if we can go there and see.
So you kind of let your family do most of the planning and you kind of just throw out extra things that you think sound extra interesting to you.
Yeah, because there's other things too, like my sister is into fiber and stuff, so she chooses like some really insane places that I never would have thought of. Like she chooses like for when we're planning, she'll be like, "Oh, there's an alpaca farm there. We should go there."
So you kind of are answering the question that I had actually, which was, so do you choose not to have very much input because you just like to go with the flow? Or do you choose not to have very much input because you're pretty much happy with whatever cool stuff your family comes up with?
Mainly because I just like to see what everybody else chooses and see um like what people want to what they want to do, and then like if there's something that I want to do too, I'll tack it onto there.
Okay. So when you're packing for a trip, what are your must-haves? Like, I mean, obviously you need clothes and stuff, but like what other things can you just not travel without?
My camera and a decent amount of a heavy backpack, and a lot of books. I'll either take a whole big stack of books, or I'll probably take my Kindle, because I can do ebooks on there.
Do you prefer paper books to ebooks?
Yes, for sure. Um, I like it a lot better to have like a real physical book in your hand than reading in an ebook.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you have to have your camera. What sort of photos do you like taking when you travel?
A lot of wildlife, some close-up shots too, so like macro shots of plants, and just different like things on the like on like just looking down and checking the ground and stuff, seeing what's interesting down there, and then also seeing the animals. I've taken some really amazing shots from just in my neighborhood of some amazing birds. We have tons of turkey vultures and hawks and stuff, so I take some amazing photos there.
Them. So with that in mind, I know obviously you're looking for things to photograph, but when you look at a location and you think, "Ooh, I want to add that in," what sort of things are you mainly looking for? Are you looking to hike? Are you looking for exotic foods, for beaches, for libraries? What sort of things float your boat?
Um, Mainly like I really look for something that like is a lot more unique than when I'm taking photos. Is something that's a lot more unique that it's not the same shot that everybody else has taken. There's a lot of photos of the San Francisco Bridge from behind the trees. Um, and that's not a shot that I would take because that's what everybody else is doing.
So you're looking for unique angles and unique locations to get really cool and individual photography?
Yes.
So when you're not taking photography, what else are you looking for on your trip? Are you looking to hike? Are you looking to try new foods? What sort of things do you love?
I love trying new foods. I have a whole series. I have a YouTube channel, and on my YouTube channel, I have a whole series about eating wacky burgers and other meats. So I've eaten bison sausages. Um, I've had rabbit, and tons of other weird ones. I've had emu. Um, Lots of weird things.
So you're quite the adventurous eater then.
Yes.
What is the best or worst or most unusual thing you've ever tried?
Um, this was not while traveling, but it was we were on our way to move here to Texas. I had squid,
Oh,
and it was this really unique sushi restaurant, and they had the conveyor belt, and then so it was going around, and they had some weird stuff. They had squid, octopus, um and a bunch of other weird stuff too.
one of
They
my
also
favorite. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, they also had watermelon on the dessert menu, so that was like a very desserty thing.
One of my favorite things that I've tried when traveling in the United States is alligator sausage or alligator hot dog. I really enjoyed alligator. Have you tried alligator?
Yes, so I used to live in Florida, and there's a lot of alligators there. And I had alligator when we went down a little while ago try on a trip. And I had alligator then too. So I've had alligator a couple times.
Awesome. I love all that. That sounds like you have a lot of a really open mind when it comes to traveling and to trying new foods and things. And I think that's a really good thing to have. So, we've talked a little bit about like preparing for your trip, but we've already started to kind of get into some like trip memories of like great foods and great activities and things like that. What is your favorite trip memory?
So we used to have a camper van and not a camper van, sorry, a camper. It was like one of the pop-up ones. Um, and in the camper, we had an oven mitt that was named Sir Ovenmittius. Um, I came up with that. Thank you very much. And one time he went missing. So the whole day we were like trying to search for him and try and find it.
Uh-oh. Did you ever find him? What happened?
Eventually, yes, I found him.
Where was he and how did he escape? Do we know?
I don't entirely remember where he was. I think he was like he fell off when we were driving. Um, so he got moved to the RV. So I think that's what it was. We got moved to when we bought an RV, and when we were driving, he fell, and I think he fell in between like the crack in between like a cabinet or something. I can't remember.
Oh no, that was probably his worst trip memory.
Yeah.
So speaking of worst trip memories, if you feel comfortable sharing it, Aiden, do you have a worst trip memory you'd like to share?
Yes, actually. We were in, so this happened last year, right before COVID. Um, and in fact, we got back from this trip like days before the Louvre closed. Um, and so when we were in Europe, we made a trip to Scotland. And I think it was on the way back, or I don't remember if it was to the Scotland or back from Scotland. Um, and we were on our way back, I think. I'll go with that. And we were taking a train, and the train got delayed because a tree fell on the power lines or on the rails. So they had to go through, and we had to go like extra slow so that they didn't so that we didn't like hit the tree. Um, but the thing was too, so it got delayed by like 5 hours, and then we had to take another train to get back to Paris, I think. And yeah, so then that train also got delayed. I don't remember entirely why. But so we were up until like it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, I think. And then but then also with the time difference, because we had just come from America to the Europe. So that was pretty bad.
So with the jet lag and then add in this like extra long waiting in the train just made you awake for a really long time and really miserable.
Yeah.
It sounds like a really miserable thing. I can definitely relate to that. So Aiden, we talked a little bit about, kind of going from place to place, and obviously we talked about how miserable it can be, kind of staying up late and things like that. How do you deal with things that come up during travel that aren't so good? Maybe something that you're a little anxious about or something that makes you uncomfortable. Like for you, it's not trying new foods, but for some people, it might be trying new foods or not speaking the language or maybe something to do with heights. How do you deal with things that cause you discomfort or anxiety on your travels?
I don't really have a lot of like anxiety before fear before we leave. Um, the main thing is like after we leave, if we're going to like a new country or something where you have the time difference or jet lag, it can be very disorienting, and it's main for me. It's mainly after we're already there.
So, how do you deal with being exhausted and disoriented?
A lot of the times when we get there, like to just like when we went from America I think it was England. Um, I just slept for like a couple hours when we got there, and that helped to like then when I woke up, I felt a lot better.
So rather than push through, you choose to take like a short nap to help you recenter
Yeah.
yourself. Okay. So what kind of advice do you have for parents or maybe even teachers who are planning a trip for tweens or teens? Like, what advice or tips would you have for them that you would want them to know if they were planning a trip?
Um, I think definitely just um let the kids help choose what they want to do. So it's not really so that it's not like you're deciding everywhere to go, and you like it's not like you don't get any input, but definitely make sure that like you let everybody figure out what they want to do. Let them do research, or if they have some place that they've been dying to visit, then maybe try and figure out a way to incorporate that.
So, how does your family navigate that? I know you have a few siblings and obviously your parents. Do you all do some sort of vote, or how do you guys decide who's going to go where and what you all are going to do?
The main thing is like we go anywhere that we can. But like if it's not along the route, then we can't really go.
Okay. And what
Unless it's like if it's like an hour difference, then we might do it still. Um, but if it's like we're gonna have to spend like 3 days driving to get there and then another 3 days to get back, then we're probably not gonna do that.
So it sounds like if it's within reason, it pretty much can get added in. And if it's completely outside the travel area, it gets pushed to a different trip.
Yes.
Okay. What would you say to other tweens or teens who aren't sure if travel is for them?
I think you definitely have to try it before you decide whether it's not is for you.
Okay.
That's my main thing.
Where was the first place you ever traveled to that you can remember?
Disney was the main one. So we used to live in Florida, and we lived right down at the tip of Florida. And we would always, it was like a 3 hour drive, I think, to go from where we lived to Disney. So we would go like once a month. And just because it was so close, like we would go like on the weekends after school when I used to go to school. And so we would just go after that, and then like on Sunday we'd come back. So yeah.
So having some little short trips is what interested you in travel originally.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And
Go ahead, Aiden.
oh, okay. You also have to get used to like driving in the car. So we did when we were going to Disney, because that was like the first travel that I really did was it was like a 3 hour drive, I think, and by the time we got there we were like 100 like really like 100% exhausted. So like we would have to like wait a little bit before we could actually go do anything. And then but now we drive and it's like 7 hours later, it's like, ah, that was nothing.
So you have to build up a little bit sometimes too with the travel.
Yes.
Cool. Well, first of all, do you want to give a shout out to your YouTube channel so other teens can follow it if they're interested?
Yes, on YouTube it is Bobverse. So that's Eobverse.
All right. Awesome. So their teens can go ahead and find your YouTube channel. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Aiden. It was really great hearing your stories.
Thank you for having me.
In today's episode, we met Aiden. Aiden actually shared quite a bit about how much he enjoys bison and particularly how he's looking forward to photographing bison in Yellowstone in winter. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about America's national mammal, the bison. It is one of only two national animals in the United States, the other being the bald eagle. So you hear me saying bison, and you might be picturing a big furry animal with a beard and a big kind of hump on its shoulders. That is indeed a bison. A lot of people use it interchangeably with the name American buffalo, but that's actually not correct. Buffalo, water buffalo, and Cape buffalo are actually native to Africa and Asia. Here in the United States, we have bison. There used to be more than 30 million bison in the area that is now known as the United States. But by the end of the 1800s, there were only a few hundred left in the wild. And at the Yellowstone site, there were only 23. Why? Well, there are two reasons. The first is that bison were a known staple in the lives of the indigenous peoples of the Great Plains, particularly the Sioux, Kiowa, and Comanche peoples. And it was decided that by slaughtering the bison, it would take away the food and the skins that indigenous people needed and would force them onto reservations to make them become farmers, which is what the United States government was looking to do at this time, intentionally trying to end their traditional culture and ways. A byproduct of all of this hunting is the second reason that we lost so many bison. As the slaughter of bison became more and more common, they realized that bison skins were very, very profitable. And this then created even more desire to hunt bison, almost to the point of extinction. Today, bison number around 30,000 in conservative herds all across the country. So there are conservation herds all across the country in different sites. And you can also see bison in every one of the 50 states, either through maybe sanctuaries, zoos, or through conservation herds. So I'm actually going to tell you about 7 places that you can travel to see bison. The first and most famous probably is Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. As I said before, there were only 23 at one time, but now there are around 5,000. Now, you heard Aiden say that he actually wants to go to Yellowstone in winter, particularly. And I decided to look this up because honestly, it's pretty hard to get into Yellowstone in wintertime. The roads close down to most traffic throughout the winter because of the snow, but you can still access Yellowstone in the winter through snowmobile or snow coaches and other guided tours. So it is possible to get into Yellowstone in the winter to see the bison, but it's definitely something that you have to plan ahead and be prepared to go to because there are a lot less staff and there are obviously a lot less people, which is great, but also means that there's a lot less access. Also, the second place you can go and see them is where Aiden also mentioned, Custer State Park. And I actually learned from Aiden and his family about the bison roundup. Every September, they round up around the 1,300 bison from the park and they kind of bring them through in a herd across the plains. They then vaccinate the smaller bison that have all been born over the course of the year. They check them, they brand them, they do all these things to keep herd health, and then they send them on their way. So at the end of September, actually this year in 2021, I am going to be at the Bison Roundup and I am so excited to get pictures of them and to see them because just like Aiden, I actually am really passionate about wildlife photography as well. The third place that you can go see them is Wichita Mountain Wildlife Refuge in Oklahoma. And this is actually the first place that I saw them. We were looking for them as we drove through the wildlife refuge on our way from Oklahoma to Texas in the first year of our road trip. And they actually came right across the road in front of our car. It was amazing. Also, the first time I ever saw prairie dogs. Seriously, prairie dogs are adorable. I know some of my US fans are listening to this and saying prairie dogs are pests, but they are so, so adorable. And you can see them nice and close at Wichita Mountain Wildlife Refuge in Oklahoma. The fourth location I was really surprised about. It is Catalina Island, California. And California, you might be like, really? Bison in California, Shae? Well, you can thank Hollywood for that because they brought in a herd in 1924 for a silent movie and then they left them there. There are now about 150 bison that roam all over the island, the 22-mile island. The next one that you can see, the fifth one, is at Wind Cave National Park in South Dakota. The sixth is in Neil Smith National Wildlife Refuge in Iowa. And the seventh place is Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. So there you have it, a bunch of bison facts for you and where to find them in the United States. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you're a teen or tween interested in sharing your travel stories, and trust me, I love to hear them, please reach out at thetravelingteach.com/contact. I'm Shae Pepper, the Traveling Teach. At the time of this recording, I am on a 5-year, 50-state road trip around the US, although with COVID, it's going to end up being 6 or 7 years. Darn you, COVID. But I travel full time with my husband, Steven, and our dog, Truffles. I'm a professional youth worker and online educator. I'm passionate about learning on location and want to bring that experience to as many young people as possible through my virtual field trips. To learn more about my travels and online classes, go to thetravelingteach.com. To follow Truffles' travels, our trip from her perspective, which I am sure is infinitely more interesting to most of you than I am, go to @TrufflesTravelsUS on Instagram. To be a guest, tween, or teen on the podcast, just reach out at thetravelingteach.com/contact. This has been an episode of For Traveling Teens, a podcast for teens and tweens who love travel, whether they're actively traveling or just dreaming.